Hi guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are here from Rabat, Morocco. I am back home for this break, and I thought I would start these little recommendation videos where I recommend 5 books of different genre. And since I'm here today and I can have a good overview over my bookshelf, I thought I would talk about my favorite French classics and modern classics. Now, I had to read a lot of those when I was in school, both in middle school and high school for my French class, and I grew to really love this genre, and some of my favorite all-time books are from this kind of from this genre. So yeah, today I will recommend to you 5 books that I have read that are either classics or modern classics, French, and yeah, that I think you would just love. Most of this book, all of this book actually, I checked, have an English translation, were translated into English. And yeah, so without any further ado, let's see which classics, French classics, I have in store for you. So I was thinking to start from the oldest to be published to the most recent, and I'm not sure about that, but I will just give it a try. So these authors are French authors that you've probably heard of before, I'm not so sure, but anyways, let's just get started with the first book that I have to recommend, and that is Un Cœur Simple by Gustave Flaubert. Now, some of you might know that Gustave Flaubert is the author of the famous Madame Bovary book, which is also a really nice book, but today I'm recommending Un Cœur Simple, which follows the life of a young woman, Felicity, that falls in love with a young man, but then he breaks her heart and leaves, and then she decides to join Madame Aubin, and she just becomes her servant. And Madame Aubin is a widow, and she has 2 kids, Paul and Valérie. And this book follows the life of Felicity from the moment her heart got broken to the moment she joined Madame Aubin, and to the moment of her death. And it's a really nice book because it explores deeply the nature of human hearts, and the nature of joy in one's life, and in sorrow and misery and pain. And Flaubert did an amazing job at drawing a beautiful picture of someone's soul other than a physical description. He focused so much on the characters, and of course Felicity more than others, and he just drew a beautiful picture of this human soul. She is such a kind soul, such a strong heart that faces so many miseries throughout this book. We also meet her, oh my god, how do you say perroquet in English? Parrot! Parrot that she gets from an old man dying, and yeah, he follows her till the moment she dies. It's beautiful, you would cry a lot. It's a very sad story. I did cry. It's set in Normandy, in a part of France in Normandy, more particularly around Le Havre, or more particularly, if I remember, I'm not so sure, I do remember, somewhere, I don't remember exactly the place, but for sure it's in Normandy. So yeah, there is the beautiful description of the place, very vivid scenes. He did describe a lot of the scenery and the place, but not the characters. The characters were all drawn in such an emotional, heartfelt way, and I thought that this book was beautiful, and I cried so much. And I remember that I had to read it in one weekend because I had an exam on it on that day, but I didn't feel at all that it was reading for an exam. It was absolutely stunning, beautiful. I cried so much, and I would highly recommend this one from Gustave Flaubert. Now, moving on, for another author around that same time, he wrote a bunch of really known books. You might have heard of him, whether you're a French speaker or just any other kind of person that reads French classics in English as well. That's Guy de Maupassant and his book Une Vie. Now, Une Vie follows the life again of Jane, who grew up in a convent, But then she got proposed to and she will get married, so she leaves the convent, and she is so happy because her entire life she was dreaming of leaving the convent, of having a house of her own, a family of her own. She falls heads over heels for a guy, and then she gets married to him, and then once again we follow her life of a married young woman as she discovers that love is not really this beautiful picture that she was imagining when she was in the convent, being religiously raised and all of that. She realized the hardship of life, and the hardship of relationships, and the really complicated nature of marriage, especially in that time. By the way, the other book and this book are also both of them set in the 19th century France. Both of them are from the movement réalisme, which is realism, that just draws pitch perfect pictures of French society in that time. And she, so back to Jen, she just realized how life is so different than what you would expect when you were brought up and raised in this sort of environment. It is very sad because she really gets some hardship as well, and she learns a lot. She learns about treason, about lying, about cheating, and we get a nice picture of the institution of marriage in France in that time, because there was a lot of you know, every man had a mistress, every woman had an amant or lover, and we just learned a lot about this dynamic among the society of the time, and I would really highly recommend Une Vie by Guy de Maupassant. Moving on, we have a book by Émile Zola, and that is Nana by him. This is the 10th book of his series Les Rougon-Macquart, which is a series that follows the family of Les Rougon-Macquart from the beginning of the Second Empire in France till the fall of the empire. And this is the 10th book. Now, this is some sort of sequel to L'Assommoir by him, where we follow the life of Geneviève. And Nana is one of her daughter. Now, this book is all about prostitution in Paris of the 19th century. Nana is she's a young girl that lives in the street. Basically, she leaves her house to go to Paris and just be introduced to the big city of Paris of the time, where all the dreams are made of, and she starts being a prostitute. Then one day she performs an act or a show in this show, a house or theater that is so in vogue, and everyone speaks about it, and all the men of high society are there, and everyone falls in love with her. And this book depicts her life growing and getting up in the society scheme as a prostitute and as a mistress for many men that are highly ranked in that society. And this shows how she is destructive, her destructive power to all the men she knows or she entertains a relationship with. It's crazy because every single man falls absolutely in love with her. She bewitches them, and then she drives them to their destruction. Some of them goes bankrupt, some of them kill themselves, and it's a beautiful depiction of the power of seducing by physical appearance. And we can see that at the end the way she dies is absolutely stunning. It's a genius. I believe that Zola is one of the most capable, one of the geniuses of his time in literature. The way he draws French society is like no other. He does an amazing job, a great job. I don't know what to say other than you should really give it a chance. It is full of shows, frivolous things, appearances, but destruction and fatal relationships. I would highly recommend this book. Moving on is one that is much more recent. We're getting into the beginning of the 20th centuries, and this is Marcel Pagnol's Le Château de ma Mère. Now, many of you might know Marcel Pagnol with his really famous book La Gloire de mon Père, which is also amazing, beautiful. But this one is a tribute to his mother, like the other is a tribute to his father, and to the years where they were living in Provence as farmers and people of the land. He really tells us, I remember that I read this book in one day in school. I was actually reading it during classes. I cried so much at the end. I will actually start rereading it as well right now. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful just tribute to his family. As I was saying before my camera died, that it's a beautiful tribute to the land, to the family, full of childhood memories, running in the woods, family picnics, family adventure, Christmases, and it's super nostalgic. You would definitely cry at the end because it's written obviously from the author as an old man or a grown-up man, and of course looking back at childhood memories is always such a vivid and such a poetic expression in itself, and this kind of things always get to me whenever someone is telling the story of their lives, or whenever someone is going back in their memories or down memory lane. It always gets to me in some really weird ways, and I cried, and I loved this book so incredibly much, guys. If you love if you love these kind of things, please just give it a chance because it's one of my favorites. I actually love this one much more than, I mean not much more, but it just spoke to me more than his other famous one, which is La Gloire de mon Père. So I would highly recommend this one from Pagnol. Then lastly, but not the least, is one of the books that is one of my absolute all-time favorite, and many times when someone asks me what is your absolute favorite book, I would always say this one. This is Le Grand Môle by Alain Fournier. This is the only novel by the writer. He used to write essays, he used to write poetry, he used to write in a column, but this is his only novel. But it only took one shot to make him one of the greatest novelists in of the French literature. This one is written, has been published at the beginning of the 20th century, but the story takes place at the end of the 19th century or the 18th. Okay, I don't know. Yeah, at the end of the 19th century, and it's told from the perspective of François, but he is not the main protagonist. He just tells the story, and he tells the story of Augustin Môle, a young guy that comes to their house and joins the school where François goes, and where François's dad is the actual teacher, and he starts living with them, with François's family, and a wonderful friendship formed between the two, the young men. And one day Augustin goes to pick up the grandparents of François for Christmas, and his carriage got lost, and he stumbles upon this mysterious domain where a sort of party is happening, and where there are so many kids, and the kids decide, and the kids make the actual laws and rules, and these were the festivities of an actual marriage. And so he is just there, a complete stranger, but he joins in the festivities, and he meets Yvonne de Galais, which is the sister of the groom-to-be. And he absolutely falls in love with her, and then he goes back into François' house, to the school, to Viseron. This is where he's from, and Sainte-Agathe in particular, this region. And now he has only one idea in his head, and it's to find the domain again and find Yvonne de Galais. And he would spend years and entire lives doing so, and he would eventually find this domain, find this woman. Many other things are going to happen, and this is also a tale of a life, not only a few, I mean not a life, but not only like a year or two, but few years in the life of François and Môle. This is a beautiful tale about teenage years, about hope, and the beautiful time that is youth in general, the crazy dreams we have, the hopes, the ideas we build, and the drive we have to reach these ideas. It's such a whimsical, soft, tender book. The description of the place of Sainte-Agathe in this countryside of Viseron is sorry, not Vierzon is so good, so vivid once again. I love vivid French settings, especially in the countryside, or I love these settings so much, and this book is such a beloved piece by many French people. I had to study it for school, but I've reread it many times after that. It's one of these books that the very rare books that I've read multiple times, meaning more than twice. This is a vintage copy. It's my father's vintage copy because he also had to read it for school when he was studying in France. And this is a vintage Hachette bibliothèque. And this is, look at how yellow the pages are. But yeah, it's super yellow, but I mean, it doesn't matter because yeah, I just holding this book makes me so happy, so nostalgic, so soft. I love it so much. And if you had to pick one book out of this pile, just pick up this one. It has for sure been translated to English and many other languages. I know an American friend who read it, and it's one of her favorite books. So please just go ahead and pick it up. You're gonna love it. You're not going to regret it at all. It's please do it. From me here to you, just do it. Pick this one. No, but really, all of the books I showed you are really favorites of mine. I love them so much. They mean so much to me. I read them when I was really at school, young, and I started reading thanks to this. Many of these books are books that actually showed me how magical reading was for me, and yeah, so I highly recommend you reading them. Let me know in the comments down below. I got really thirsty. Let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of this book or any of these authors. Do you have a favorite? Do you have a French favorite? Did you used to love books from school? Because I don't know, I feel weird. I always say that I love the books they make us read in school, but I loved them. I loved some, I didn't love some, but I never felt that I was forced and then I will start hate reading because I'm forced. No, it was such a great thing to do in school, I feel like. But yeah, just let me know if you have any books that you read from school and that you really wanted to read. Not all of these actually I read from school, like Marcel Pagnol, I only read the first one, then I loved it so much, then I picked up this one. Also Zola, we had to read L'Assommoir and Au Bonheur des Dames, but I loved them so much that I picked up this one. Yeah, and also Maupassant, yeah, Une Vie. We read Pierre et Jean, Bel Ami, I loved them so much that I picked up that one. So yeah, I always got introduced to authors and then I would love them so much and I would pick other books outside of the curriculum, of course. So yeah, that was me rambling about a genre that I absolutely love. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you're not already subscribed, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!